We are here at Heinz Hall in downtown Pittsburgh for a very special edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. Well, hello everybody, I am Mark Despotakis. Welcome to this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. And we are here today at Heinz Hall in Pittsburgh for a special on-location edition of PMEA's Take Note. And I'm delighted to bring in here Ethan Hsu. He is a junior at Harridan High School, Lower Merion School District. Ethan, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
And let's just let the cat out of the bag right away. Why we're here talking, because you won a contest that the Pittsburgh Symphony just about an hour ago performed a piece that you composed, and we're going to get into talking about that in a bit. If I would read all of your qualifications here and the things that you've done as a junior, we would probably fill the entire time of the podcast. It is so impressive what you have done already. We're going to dive into that in a little bit, but I first want to talk about, where did this start for you, music? Like, do you have some early memories of making music? And is there some point you were like, yeah, I like music, but I want to write music?
I started learning piano actually when I was around 5 years old. I was inspired by my older brother. And then I went to cello when I was 7 years old. And it was my cello teacher then, Yumi Kendall of the Philly Orchestra, who inspired me to start writing music. The things that she played on the cello to demonstrate its capabilities made me instantly fall in love with the instrument. And then from there I went, and there were YouTube videos that showcased piano arrangements of popular songs that I liked, and those were also, in my eyes as an 8-year-old, and it was so cool, and I wanted to do something like that. So
as an 8-year-old?
Yeah, I wanted to just start like making these types of videos and stuff. It's kind of that,
So while you were doing that, were you like, okay, this is a cool thing, and like I want to do this at some point? Like, were you already thinking that at 8, 9 years old?
Yeah, I was, and then eventually, my parents introduced me to a composition teacher, first one named Emily Cooley, and she really got my vision off the ground, and I started writing when I was actually, I think, around 11 years old.
Okay, so that's interesting. So we're 11, you're starting to compose, and what was that like? Talk about that a little bit. Like, what was it like when you did your first real piece? Were you like struggling? Was this simple? Was this something that just came to you?
Oh, I was struggling a lot.
Okay.
There's probably maybe like 200 to 300 pages of sheet music, like empty and scribbled out, lying around my house. Because I just kept rewriting the first few notes over and over and over and over again, and I didn't actually. Took me probably about 6 months to write my first piece, because I just wanted it to be like so perfect on the first try. And
okay.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like your personality in general?
Well, not anymore.
Okay.
That was definitely what it was like when I was when I first began, for sure. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So talk to us about then, like, that starting a new piece. What kind of goes through your head? Are you saying, okay, I'm going to compose this piece because I have a concept in mind, I have a story in mind, I have a person in mind, I have an emotion in mind, like what? Or is it any number of those things?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just find inspiration around me all the time. We were just at the concert. I was watching Mason Bates' Philharmonia Fantastique for the first time. I've heard the music before, but I haven't seen the film. And when I was there, I instantly got an idea to create a orchestra piece in the same vein of magical and dance-like. And now I have that idea in the back of my mind. That's where all these come from, just things that happen around me.
So let me dive into that just a little bit. I'm curious. So whenever you say you heard this, and for those who don't know, so the piece is played by the orchestra, and there's this wonderful video animation that accompanies it, and it's a great introduction for students to the sections of the orchestra. And musically it's awesome, but when you put the video, it's so cool, right? That was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you say, all right, I'm listening to this and I'm watching this and I have this idea. When you say idea, are you saying I have some musical lines through your head? What do you mean by that?
So usually, actually, when I'm writing a piece, the first thing that goes in paper, I guess, is not actually the notes themselves, but it is just the title, the instrumentation, and then I like to make a mock program note of what the piece is going to be like, and what it's going to sound like, and its length oftentimes, just to get that idea, and then before I actually start putting stuff on the paper. Yeah.
Okay, so you're a cellist, you have the piano background, you're writing for a full symphony orchestra here, and I just heard the piece that you did, and it was incredible. First of all, congratulations. But that's a lot to an entire symphony. So as a cellist and a pianist, somebody who's studied those instruments more than the others, is that complicated for you? Do you find yourself maybe favoring a cello part, or how does that process work?
I mean, yeah, it can be a little complicated at times, but I think the thing that worked for me was starting small, and I didn't write an orchestra piece until about 2 years ago. So I had been writing before that smaller pieces and electronic music, but I hadn't really been actually thinking about, having a 100-piece symphony orchestra on staff paper,
Yeah.
That's hard to imagine. So it was just it's a little complicated. I don't necessarily favor the cello, actually. I actually think it's pretty hard to write for cello as a cellist myself. But yeah, sometimes when you're writing orchestra music, you can favor certain instruments or instrument families, and in my case, I do like the strings a lot, but I also like the harp as well. Okay,
interesting. So in 2023, you won part of PMEA's composition contest for a piece, Fantasy for Orchestra. So was that kind of like one of the first contests? What was that like for you? How old were you, 3 years ago?
That was, I think I was, I don't.
There's just been so many, you don't even remember, right?
Yeah.
Eighth grade winning a composition contest at that level.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
I honestly didn't think I would win at all. I mean, my parents, I was told to just submit pieces for contests because you never know what could happen, and I didn't have, when I first wrote the piece, it was a string orchestra piece, and I didn't really think about winning anything at the time, and from there I just orchestrated it for full orchestra, and I submitted it to PMEA as a sort of, maybe something might happen, exposing my music to other people is really helpful. And I mean, yeah, that was the first ever contest I'd ever won, actually, in anything. So it was a very special experience for me, and it was very transformative, and really encouraged me to continue what I was doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and then here we are 3 years later, sitting in Heinz Hall. An hour ago, the Pittsburgh Symphony just performed a piece that you composed. And it was part of the school time series of concerts here. So there was thousands of students here listening, and there's been thousands of students throughout the week listening. What was that? What's this experience like for you, coming to Pittsburgh, seeing these students react, seeing the orchestra react, talking to the conductor, getting some notes on it? What has this experience been like? Have you even figured that out yet?
It's still processing in my mind. I mean, a lot of these, I just can't believe this has happened. And however, it's a very transformative experience as well. There's a lot of orchestration things that you have to listen to an orchestra to hear, very, very small details that you wouldn't be able to hear over a computer-generated recording, and even more like educational when you get to talk to the conductor, and he has all of these great ideas about how the piece could be even better than it already is, and it transforms how I also think about composing, especially for orchestra. Yeah.
Interesting. So this was a learning experience for you as well. That's awesome. Okay, so what is like? We start off by, let's remind folks, you're a junior in high school, right? So you have all of everything that happens in high school. You are composing. You are now on a tour here to come to Pittsburgh for a world premiere. You're performing. How are you balancing all of this as a high school student?
I really think of music as a sort of like a, I don't think music is actually that stressful for me, even though I do treat it a lot like a job sometimes. But it's just the idea of getting to express myself that really balances out actually very well with the schoolwork, where I honestly, that's kind of hard to like express your creative ideas because, school. And they want you to use formulas and stuff, but when you're composing, you don't have to do that. You can really just be you. And it can be reflective, it can be celebratory, there's so many different things that composing can be, and that's why, I do it so much, actually.
So, there's a lot of music teachers watching this and listening to this. What would you say to them to maybe to help them encourage their students to try out composing?
I think I've taught composers. I haven't taught a ton of composers before. I've talked to a lot, and they all want to get into composition. And really, I think the best thing that a budding composer can do is just start writing. I know it sounds really daunting to do that, but there's no such thing as a bad musical idea, and really, I think the hardest part is just getting that idea like on paper, and once you have that, you eventually have a piece. I think student composers, they like sometimes they like to be very ambitious and start very big with an hour symphony. I think just a couple minutes of piano music is very beneficial. And also for music teachers, I think it's such a cool experience when the student has a piece, and then the composer, and then the orchestra at the school or the band plays that work. That's such a great experience for the composer, and it's very encouraging to hear that music live, and also just like simple, just encouraging them. Really, I've been so fortunate to have such great encouragement from all of my teachers and peers from basically throughout middle and high school, and they really inspire me to keep going.
Yeah. So talk about keep going. What's next as you look to the future? We'll even say 5-10 years. Like what do you think's next for you in this world?
I mean, that's really hard to say because the road ahead is very windy, and things always happen. There's always, sometimes the road crumbles beneath you, and other times, you gotta rebuild it yourself. But for me, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, I'm looking to study composition at a higher institution and really refine my skills and get experience with composing for, interdisciplinary areas such as dance and even film or ballet, and really just anything.
Interesting. Well, Ethan, this has been fantastic to meet you and talk to you today, and to hear the piece. And I'm so excited because I can say I knew you when, in 5-10 years when you're out there doing this, I can say I knew you when. So thank you for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for being with us on this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. We'll see you next time.